Hello everyone, I am Junchan and we are back on stream and yeah, thanks for joining. We are back trying to solve some OS related issues. I wish I'd been able to solve them before the stream so that we could focus on doing some Haskell development, but unfortunately I couldn't. So I've got it in a state where I suppose we can stream at least, and but I have only a single screen, so that's part of the issue, and there's a bit of a different error than I've been getting before, which is this one. Which also sometimes, well, there's another error actually. Where is it? It's, I think if I do screen layout. Right, no, that's not the one. Yeah, basically context is my computer has two graphics cards and those can be listed. Providers, list providers. Well, it really has three. In fact, it has a integrated GPU, integrated graphics cards. But the one that we care about are a Nvidia Titan XP and an AMD R7 270X. So I've been trying to set them up because one of the things that I need is access to the CUDA library. And thinking about it, maybe that's again a bit of a dead end and a fool's errand. Maybe I should actually just go for OpenCL or maybe Vulkan. I started looking a little bit into these, so it could be that we actually sort of bypass this proprietary driver, multi-proprietary driver issues here. I've also looked at Wayland, so there's a number of ways in which some of these basically X-server related issues could be maybe bypassed. But as it is now, I'm still trying to get it back similar to where I was before. And so the difficulty of doing this on stream, of course, is that as soon as I change a driver setting, even maybe if I reload the display manager, then I might go offline and I have to restart the stream. If I change the driver, and also what I've been doing is also changing the kernel versions. All of this needs rebooting, and it takes quite a lot of time. So if this happens, I might shift to streaming from my laptop. So I won't be able to see the screen, but at least I'll be online. And that's sort of what I did on Saturday. I was hoping to stream on Saturday, and I thought, well, I really need to get these issues solved, and so I spent most of my time rebooting and trying different kernel versions. I'm actually at the let's look at the NixOS profiles system. I am at my 101th generation, so I have hit the 99 mark here, and I'm now at 103 actually. So yeah, so I've been rebooting a lot, and I probably will continue to reboot quite a bit here. But yeah, and I suppose there's some trace of what I've been trying to do in my config. So let's take a look at it. Yeah, some of the things that I've done. Well, I done some Nix things actually that are probably worth mentioning, which is that I moved to the Flake system. It seems like that's kind of the leading edge of Nix. It requires to enable experimental features, but one of the benefits for this is that it really aims to do reproducible configs for the OS, which seems like it wasn't exactly the case before, because you could have things like environment variables and things like ambient package management, like through the Nix channel, for instance, that would actually be global state on your system. And so you weren't really assured that deploying the same Nix config on another machine would actually lead to the same configuration. And that's something that Flakes solve, both by doing some smart declaration of the package, your version of the packages you're using, together with a log file, which is something that is fairly common in package managers. And so I've installed this, and I've also installed Home Manager, which is a better way than the nixenv-i way of creating sorry, I'm just realizing that I would want to have my chat up here. Yeah, yeah, it's a better way of managing your personal environment than sorry, than doing nixenv-i, which is also a mutable state. So with this approach, you use a home.nix configuration that's imported by a Home Manager in this way. And hey, that makes me think of something here. I might be using diverging things, because in some of my Nix configuration I use unstable, but here I'm passing I'm passing legacy packages. I'm not even sure why I'm passing legacy packages here. What I expect in the Flake language, normally, like, the inputs are then passed as arguments to the outputs, and here I'm doing a few things. I'm importing unstable. I'm overlaying unstable onto Nix packages. So that allows me to do things like packages.unstable. This comes from the overlay, and then call a different version of the Linux kernel, for instance. Well, for the Linux kernel, it doesn't necessarily make sense, but that's the master branch. So actually, no, it does make sense, because there can be stuff moving forward on kernel 4.19 in unstable that would not be in 2003. But now I see that there is something unholy in here, which is that I've actually moved everything to unstable. I think I must have done this in anger, and that is not smart. And I don't know what that means in terms of the current state. I think I was trying to get everything to the latest version. It might be one of the reasons why I'm unable to get back into a state where I can use my two displays. Although I should note, and that's something that I'm actually unfortunately not sure about, I know that when I tried with the Nouveau drivers, it worked, but with the Nouveau drivers, you can't use CUDA. I know also that at some point I got it to work with the two screens, but I didn't have the ability to do Nvidia SMI. But as I say this, I have a little doubt in my head, because also I remember that I was actually doing Nvidia SMI without sudoing, and actually right now this works for some reason. Sorry. Oh yes, I think I know where this works. Is because I've added myself to the video group. No, I haven't. That's interesting. I'm not sure why I'm actually able to run NVIDIA SMI from my regular user account. That is new. This is also using a very recent version of CUDA because the NVIDIA driver, unless you specify a legacy version, is pinned to the latest release. So when I say NVIDIA here, if I don't specify, well, actually here I have specified the stable NVIDIA package here. So there's a bunch of moving targets right now. That's definitely not the best. Clearly a remain of me just flailing around and trying to make things to work, including some attempts at Wayland and attempts at Vulkan as well. Actually, I might have something in my shelf of Vulkan tools, and this Vulkan info is the thing that's supposed to work, and in this case it doesn't work. Incompatible driver. So I think, yeah, I think that requires a dedicated NVIDIA driver. So that is quite tempting, quite a tempting path to follow, because it feels that is one of the most promising open way to do things. Because if I do NVIDIA and CUDA, then there's no real redemption, right? If I do NVIDIA and Vulkan, then there is, because that Vulkan is an open standard, and then whatever I do would work on multiple GPUs, including Metal, which is really nice. And I was also looking at Vulkan compatibility with GStreamer, and that stuff is not super active, but it seems like it's recently been brought to a fairly similar level as the OpenGL stuff, and I would assume that that's going to start picking up some steam also in the future. In fact, it seems like some of the recent Steam games for Linux are using Vulkan. So yeah, so basically that could be an interesting path, also because right now, in order to try and troubleshoot this my inability to run some commands that were working before, I suppose I could, if I go to nixvarnix and profiles, and I go to an older system, like, I don't know, 20. Can I see my NixOS config there? I can't, right? So I need to find out how to do this. Configuration name, what is this? That has nothing in it, okay. What about NixOS version? I assume, yeah, that's just 2009. Yeah, the ability to actually see my NixOS configuration file here, that would be quite important. So let's try and look that up. I feel like I need to know this, and right now I do not. Okay. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm going to digress again, but this also looks promising. This seems to be a dedicated attempt, not really specific to NixOS, more to Nix, but to create wrappers for different types of GPU architecture, including possibly, including proprietary GPUs, drivers, but also hybrid architectures. So that's interesting. But yeah, let's do so. How to see previous system generation NixOS configuration.nix file. No, not in general. Version control. There's a system copy system configuration for the simple cases. Periodic snapshots. NixOS is part of my git.files project, and to run an NixOS rebuild I use this script. I check. Okay, copy my Nix expression tree into the store. Right, so is that the same same as the copy? Installing extra default Nix. I don't think that's for NixOS. Okay, yeah, let's look that up. Plus Flake. Is your configuration Nix somewhere odd? Just have CH root builds. Okay, I see. Okay, so is it just a matter of doing system dot? Okay, well, if that's the case, then let's have it at least for the future. And I think I have this open, and oh, maybe it's going to be actually in the flakes. Actually, there was something about flakes right here, plus flake. Thrown error. Because Nix path is impure, does flakes disallow it by default? Oh, not possible to do that? It'd be hard to distill people's arbitrarily complex configuration to a single configuration.nix to place or add run current system configuration.nix. Well, I don't need it to be runnable. I just look. That's interesting. What is there something in run there? There isn't anything in run. What is there something in run? Current system. Right, yeah, no, that's just, yeah. Functionality, no, it's just saving, right? Top level activation thread, don't use it, this resolved. Triaging my issues. I think it's a note that go find, can find it. Okay. Prevents an NixOS rebuild. System copy, system configuration. So it probably doesn't work with flakes. Oh, well, too bad. I'm surprised that this wouldn't work just by copying the file. Shall we try to do that? That might be a good example of something super simple in theory, right? Okay, let's try. So I assume this would be in flakes, in fact. It may be. I mean, I'm saying this because in the flakes we do have the .configuration.nix that's provided. So can we do something? Oh, actually, I didn't even realize that I'm not indented properly. Right. NixOS system. I think that's a new thing from Flakes. lib.nixOS system. Upcoming feature, specify your code dependencies in a declarative way, simply by listing them inside a flake.nix file. Each dependency gets pinned, commit hash gets automatically stored into the file named flake.log. Yeah, okay, that's how it works. Right, it's a more declarative way to say what you depend on, because otherwise that stuff is littered inside the derivations code, or the expressions code, I think, and sort of scanned, but not declaratively expressed. I think so. And probably there's a legacy thing, right? There's a way to shim, like flake compat, right? You could shim legacy default and shell.nix. Download the input of the flake, pass them to the flake's output function, and return an attribute set containing default nix and shell nix attributes. Place the following into default nix for shell.nix. To use the shim, blah. I see. Well, I see. I don't see. Where does the actual default nix go? This is such a frequent experience with me and the Nix documentation or anything really. It's like the code snippets, they give you like this really tiny window on the world, and there's often something outside of that tiny window that you kind of need to understand what's happening and that you don't see. So for instance, I placed this into default.nix. Okay, but I thought, oh, hold on, it's to shim a legacy default.nix. So that's because I suppose you use different commands with a flake, and so if you need to allow a flake thing to be available through the normal default.nix, then that's how you wrap it. So there's something that doesn't have a default.nix. Okay, so sorry for jumping to conclusions here. I get it now. I get it. Okay. Log file. So yeah, I don't know that we care about this. Using Xflex with NixOS. Okay. And there's also an Xflake command. Archive check clone info list inputs. Outputs for radio flake. Let's give that a shot. We will. See. Okay. What am I doing? I'm going into, let's see, NixOS, and I'm going to NixFlake show. So the outputs is just a Nix configuration with Kraken in it, which is a NixOS configuration. We could update the flake log file, which I suppose will go fetch the repo. So does this mean that when I do Nix rebuild these days, I actually don't go and fetch master? I think that's what it means. So let's Nix flake update. How about not much happened here. What's in the flake lock? It's locked at this rev. Okay, well that's GitHub Nix packages. Hold on, those are GitHub Nix packages, NixOS and stable. And that's original ID. How does this work? Okay, unstable is F6 blah, and this is F6 blah. Oh, I see. It remembers the previous Nix package that I had, which is this one, which is the release 1009 branch, I believe. I guess that must be it. Shall we check? Let's check. NixOS, GitHub, and so what do we want? We want a branch. That's the 1209 branch, 2009, I mean. Right, not the NixOS one, the release 2009 one. And that's, well, that's been updated super recently, so we're not going to be able to know by just looking at the commit SHA, which in any case doesn't even show up here for some reason. There we go. And what would we want? D380? D380. No, I do not want that. D380. So it's not here. 5 days ago, yeah, it could be from before 5 days ago for sure. 7 days, it could absolutely be before 7 days. Owner NixOS, repo Nix packages, and let's search for it. That's the commit, and that's been merged into master. So that's master. It's just an earlier master, I suppose. I'm not sure exactly how this works. But in any case, doing what I did with the flake is probably really a bad idea. Because that's just misleading. Yeah, let's not do that. Is it NixOS 2009? Or is it release 2009? And yeah, that's something I still don't really understand, in fact. What's the difference between the NixOS 2009 and the release 2009? 2009. Nothing to compare up there. Up to date with all the commits. Okay, let's switch. Just one commit. One commit more in the release branch than in the NixOS branch. So it's pretty much the same. I suppose we can get the NixOS one. So I'm going to rebuild, and well, yeah, no, that's not gonna crush us. Maybe I'll rebuild, and then I'll restart the display manager, see what this does to my config. So yeah, this we couldn't do. It's too bad. And okay. Right. So 2009 didn't have that option. That's the problem. I mean, stable. No, 2009 didn't have that option. No, I don't need to do that. So how can we deal with that? Well, we would need to get unstable. Well, actually, we need to get the unstable system. So I think that means this, which is fine. But then you gotta wonder, actually, it's not fine. Actually, that's not gonna work. I need to do unstable here, I think. Yeah, but then the question is, does it even make sense to have an overlay, to have an unstable overlay? I mean, I suppose I have an unstable system, and then I can refer to stable packages, possibly. Let's try. Let's see if it works. I suppose that one of the things that I've learned playing around with this is that it's fairly robust. If it doesn't build the derivation, then, you know, I mean, it can do a derivation that won't boot, but you have all your generations, so it's never completely dire when this happens. Okay. Yeah, NixOS will be nice. It restarted the home manager. So it means that I'm getting better at the Nix expression language, because that actually worked. But it probably didn't change much. Since it practice, it means that it means that packages now, the packages are still actually, I think I don't need to import unstable anymore here. That's when I thought you could pass it directly, but it turns out that apparently you can't. Passing it as an overlay worked. Okay, so let's rebuild, just make sure. So yeah, so it only rebuilt the home manager for some reason. Whereas home manager shouldn't have changed, I don't think. And what is this legacy packages thing? I'm not sure I understand it. I mean, it's not completely positive, but usually when this happens, then there's been no modifications. Right, the legacy packages. Why do I use legacy packages here? I passed something different to my home.nix. So I have like many different sets of packages that I'm passing around. And why did I need to explicitly pass the packages to the home.nix? Let's take a look at home.nix. Get the packages and call each package in turn. Yeah, I think I had to do more work than I thought I would need it to just to be able to use the with packages syntax here. It seems like a lot of people have quoted list of packages or have to use a prefix packages dot, and I couldn't understand why, but it seems like it gave me a little bit of difficulty here, and passing the packages actually had to transform the home.nix into a function and pass it packages, which was, I suppose, a glorious moment. Hey, you gotta self-congratulate a little bit, right? Especially when you're stuck into like graphics card configuration for weeks. Okay. So what am I doing here? So the packages are now unstable everywhere, right? I'm a bit surprised that we don't pass any parameters to configuration.nix. I suppose, let's look at the code for an NixOS system. Takes modules, and then for each module in modules, it adds some stuff. Right, so I suppose lib extend means that it makes the NixOS system available in lib dot, in the lib record, and it uses eval-config .next, so that's probably what we want to look at. So NixOS lib eval-config. Okay, NixOS lib eval-config. From an end-user configuration file, build an NixOS configuration object from which we can retrieve option values. system can be set modularly. Okay, let's go back to how it was called. Blah. It's called with the args. So, oh, it's called with the args, but the args augmented by some stuff. So that's the args, right? The system and the modules. But the modules find themselves with some added stuff. Actually, yeah, a calculated version suffix and a build, but that sounds like that's only for VMs, maybe. Yeah, that stuff seems to be mostly for VMs. So yeah, so it calls this with the args. So let's see. So system is one thing, and so it could be current system, but we specify a system. I suppose, yeah, that's probably fine. Can be set modularly, would be nice to remove. Yeah, I suppose what do we want really here for Nix? I suppose we want to say that the configuration kind of works for this platform, and suppose that if we are in Darwin, for instance, then most stuff's not going to work. So we need to know which system we're using. So if we do current system, then yeah, I mean, we could bypass that, but I suppose it's a better practice to spell it out. Makes sense. Oh, we could be passing packages. Is this argument needed anymore? The packages argument can be set modularly anyway. So if we don't pass it, then yeah, so then that's interesting. Then how does it get set? It's inherited from the args. But we are not passing it here, right? So where is it? Where is it pulled from? Module lists. Who writes such well-documented code? Impressive. Nix packages.system. That's the config. Then we create a config object. Nix packages is passed through the packages argument. Extra args equal extra args. Comment about args in lib.modules.nix. I'm not sure how the wiring gets done here. Oh, because then the configuration.nix is a module, and each module gets passed stuff, which we can see in libmodule.nix if we go look, I suppose. Lib modules.nix. evaluate a set of modules. Takes a lib. You're right, it evals the modules, and then how does it get the packages? I have no idea. Collect modules. Yeah, I don't know how configuration gets its packages here. I don't understand it from the code, so clearly my Nix expression foo is not there yet. Well, such is life. So let's just restart the display manager and see what's up. That's probably going to restart the stream, but such is life. Sorry for the one person viewing, and let's try.